emotional and intellectual growth. So emotional quotient, they have two different points. One point at one point lies people who are with low emotional quotient, and on other point, on other spectrum, lies people who are with high emotional quotient. How do we identify on what spectrum do we lie? So people who have low emotional quotient, they often feel misunderstood. They get very upset very easily. Small situations make them upset. And they become overwhelmed by emotion. They don't know how to process emotion. They don't know how to express it clearly. And they have a very strong problem with being assertive, with trying to define themselves, with trying to prove themselves. Whereas on the opposite spectrum of this is people who are with high EQ. And they are those people who are able to link between their emotions and how they are behaving. So, for example, if I'm able to link that because I had a very unfortunate accident in the morning, that my tire burst or I had a puncture, because of that, throughout the day, I'm feeling frustrated. So, I should now control this frustration. So, I am having a high EQ. So, I'm able to link between the emotions which I'm feeling and how I'm behaving. And under the stressful situation, no matter how many assignments I'm given, no matter how many workload I'm given, I remain calm and composed. And I'm able to influence others to achieve a common goal. And I can if I have a high EQ, people with high EQ, they are able to handle people with diplomacy. So they are able to manage the emotions of others. And because of that, they are able to manage the relationships which they have others. So they are diplomatic in nature. They have a tactful nature wherein they are able to handle difficult people also. So why do we understand it? Why do we focus on EQ? There are various advantages for EQ. One of them is that with the EQ, we are able to have good relationship with other people. Because we are able to understand the emotions of others, we are able to build a strong relationships with them. Another advantage of EQ is that it helps us to improve our communication skills. I know how I am feeling, and because of that, I'm able to put my feelings into words. So I'm able to express my emotions perfectly, and I'm able to communicate with others. I have a better empathy skills, and I act with integrity. And because of all these characteristics, I'm able to get respect also from others. And EQ not only helps you to become a better individual, EQ also helps to improve the career prospects of people and helps them to manage the changes which they are facing very confidently and very assertively. People with high EQ are able to enjoy their work and they feel confident and positive. Now, there are various models which were given for EQ. These models would help us to understand the various components of EQ. So one was ability model, wherein the emotional quotient or emotional intelligence was considered as a process. So there are four components of emotional intelligence. First component is perceiving emotion. How well I'm able to perceive my emotion. If I'm feeling frustrated, what is the reason behind feeling frustrated? If I'm feeling happy, what are the reasons I'm feeling happy? If I am feeling uh, angry, what are the reasons I'm feeling angry? So I'm able to understand my emotions. And because I'm feeling angry because of so and so reason, I'm able to manage my emotions. I can remove the hurdles which are coming in my emotions. If I'm feeling angry because I didn't get proper credit for my work, I'm feeling angry because I had a dispute with my teammate. So I'm able to manage my emotions properly. I am able to perceive the emotions of others also who are associated with me. And I can put my thoughts into words. And then another model was Baron model. It was given by Baron, a psychologist with Baron, named Baron, and he said that there are five components of emotional intelligence. First is self-perception, that how I'm feeling. Am I emotionally aware what emotions I'm feeling? What regard to have for myself? So self-perception is related to emotional functioning. How well do I know myself? The second component of emotional intelligence is self-expression. It is not just enough to know what I'm feeling, it is also necessary that how well I'm expressing my emotions. So am I assertive in nature? Am I independent in my emotions? Am I able to express what I'm feeling with my words? The third component of emotional intelligence is interpersonal. So from individual, we are moving towards society. So how well I'm able to relate with others? Do I have good relationships with others? Am I empathetic in nature? Do I understand what others are going through? Then fourth component of emotional intelligence is decision making. Do I let my emotions come into decision making? Am I able to solve the problem? Do I know what the reality is? And do I take the actions to improve my situation? And very important part of emotional intelligence, wherein emotional intelligence becomes very important, is stress management. That is the fifth component of emotional intelligence. We all live in an environment where we are uh, surrounded by people who have a lot of stress, and we ourselves face a lot of stress in our environment. So how well we are able to tolerate the stress? Do we maintain optimism throughout the stress period? And are we flexible enough to change ourselves with the changing environment? So emotional quotient affects your performance at your workplace. If you have high emotional quotient, you are able to lead other people's, you are able to excel in your careers. It also affects your physical health, because if you are not able to manage your emotions, you won't be able to manage your stress also. Because one of the component, as we have seen earlier, is that emotional intelligence is stress management. So if I'm able to manage my stress, I have a good emotional intelligence. So if I'm not able to manage my stress, obviously I will have a lot of serious health conditions. I can have high blood pressure, I can have low immune system, I can have higher risk of heart attacks. So it is very important to have a good emotional quotient to have good physical health also. And then obviously emotional quotient will affect our mental health also, because our will be more prone to anxiety and depression if we are not able to perceive and manage our emotions and perceive and manage the relationships we have with others. It also affects our relationships with others, because if emotional intelligence affects how we are communicating with others, if I'm having a strong communication with others, if I'm able to communicate effectively and build a stronger relationship, then I would have a success in both my personal life and my professional life. And a very major area of emotional intelligence where it is highly seen is our social intelligence. How well we are able to recognize our friends' emotion, bring down their stress level, balance our nervous system with social communication, and feel a part of team. That is social intelligence. How well we are able to do that, and the basic of that is emotional intelligence. So, question which would come in your mind at this stage is why? What is the difference between EQ and IQ? That is emotional quotient and intelligence quotient. So, I have presented it in a tabular manner that EQ is emotional quotient or IQ is intelligent quotients. In EQ, we are able to identify, assess, and control our emotions and those of others. Whereas IQ deals with IQ is a score which is derived from a standardized test which assess the intelligence level. With EQ, we are able to identify, control, express our own emotion, perceive others' emotion, and use this emotion to facilitate thinking. The use of IQ is the ability to learn, understand, and apply the information, skills, and logical reasoning. In workplace, we see EQ through teamwork, leadership, successful relationships, initiatives, and collaborations. Whereas IQ could be seen with success in challenging tasks, ability to analyze and connect the dot, research and development. In order to identify a person with a high EQ, a person is a leader who is a team player who works alone as well as who also works well with team. IQ is someone who is highly capable of processing hard information, difficult information, and delivering best results. So, what is more important, IQ or EQ? So, at this question, the scientists are divided in two parts. Some say that IQ is more important than EQ because they believe that EQ is overrated and IQ is a better predictor of success. And some says, from which team I also consider myself to be, is that IQ is something which could be developed, but EQ is something which you have to have throughout these stages of your life to manage your relationship. A high IQ would get through you to school, but a high EQ will get you through life. Now we come to emotional intelligence and quality assurance in higher educational institutes. So quality has become a very catchy word these days. And service has become synonymous with quality. If the quality is missing in service, then we cannot deliver a better service to our customers. And education in itself is very qualitative in nature. We cannot measure education on a chart, on a standardized chart. We cannot measure a teacher's effectiveness on a chart. We cannot measure a class delivery on a chart. So it is very qualitative in nature, and it cannot be expressed in the terms of quantities. The teachers are one of the focal point of education. So if I have to deliver a quality education system, I have to have teacher in the focal point. I have to keep teachers who are very well versed in teaching and learning environment. Because if I have a bad teacher, my environment would fall automatically. And it is very important to have a effective classroom management, healthy relationship between students and teachers, and to motivate our students to learn. And these all situations are only possible if I have a emotionally intelligent teachers. So what is the importance of EQ for faculties? Bharat Ratna Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishna, former president, said a very beautiful line that teachers are the backbone of our education system. True teachers are those who help us to think for ourselves. And we all remember one teacher who always used to reprimand us, who always used to scold us for our very small mistakes, who had no empathy, no matter what difficult life situation we would be going through. They wanted their work on time. If we faced any problem, we were scolded because of them. Instead of listening to the words that, what is the problem? I'm there to help you. We only heard the scolding. These teachers were the teachers who lacked emotional intelligence. Now we understand, after this example, we can understand the importance of a good teacher in our life. In a student's life, a teacher, even if we imagine a teacher who is good, then we don't judge the teacher by the intelligence they possess. We judge them by the relationships they have built with us. We judge them by the empathy skills. We judge them by the classroom environment which they were able to keep. So all these factors which I'm stating are part of highly emotionally intelligent teachers. Teachers can create an effective learning environment with their sheer will and motivation to make their students more aware. Teachers are the one who are responsible to motivate their students in a better manner and make them understand their students' behavioral and psychological well-being. They can also be sensitive towards their students' disruptive behavior. If a student is being disruptive in a class, a highly emotionally intelligent teacher would try and understand what is the reason why they are why they are showing such emotions, why they are exhibiting like this. They can handle and deal with various issues the children are facing in a better manner. Another thing is that a teacher with high EQ have good self-regulation, right? The more self-aware teacher is, the more better way they can manage the children. Children have to manage many age-related issues. They are going through many different life cycles, life situations, which they are not well equipped enough to handle. So as a teacher, becomes our responsibility that we show the control in our emotions and thus help them to control their own emotions. Another important aspect which a teacher should show is empathy. Because a good and emotionally intelligent teacher is not the one who is only self-aware, but they also show the empathy towards their children, towards their parents, towards their peers, and so on. In today's environment, the children they are equipped with social media, they are bombarded with the information, and they go through various emotions throughout the day. In one day, they go through various highs and lows of life. And sometimes students, they themselves are not at the age where they are well equipped enough to handle those emotions. So they need someone who understands what they are feeling, what their emotion is, and then guide them. And in the process, does not judge them. And that is the role of teacher in the life of student. This is a key role of empathetic teacher who makes a positive and everlasting impact on the student's mind. In today's environment, I feel that as teachers, we have forgotten to connect with students. We come, we deliver the lecture, and in the process, we forgot to build a relation with our students. And thus, with building EQ in ourselves, building high emotional intelligence in ourselves, we'll be able to reconnect with the students and provide them not only with the necessary skills they need to conquer the subject, but also to conquer their life. So, how EQ could be seen in a teacher? A teacher with high EQ has self knowledge. They know what their emotion is, what their thoughts are, and they become more self aware. A teacher with high emotional control will also be able to control the chaotic classroom situation or a stressful chaotic situation and would able to dominate the impulsiveness. There are various teachers who are not able to control the classroom. They are not able to exert their control in the classroom. There are two spectrums of teacher. One, where the teacher has zero control over the class, or second, where the teacher has run such a tight ship that the students, they are not able to emotionally express themselves. So the issue is not to fall on both of the spectrum. One should find the middle ground between them, wherein the teacher is able to dominate also, and at the same time gives enough freedom to students to able to express themselves emotionally. The good teacher, good emotionally intelligent teacher is able to motivate the students, and they are able to motivate themselves and in turn motivate the students. A teacher with high emotional intelligence has an empathetic mindset where they are able to communicate with the students and understand what they are going through and help and guide them throughout their journey and help them to understand their emotions, help them to navigate through life. They have good social and leadership skills. They have to maybe one problem which a teacher faces is that if they become too friendly with students, they loses the authority. So if someone who has high emotional intelligence, it is possible for them to interact with the students in such a manner that they do not lose the authority. Now, what are the different ways as a teacher we can improve our emotional quotient? First is to use an assertive style of communicating. An assertive style of communication goes a long way towards earning respect without coming as too aggressive or too passive. People who are high emotionally intelligent, high on emotional intelligence, they are able to communicate their opinion and their needs in a direct manner while at the same time respecting others. So, in a classroom, if I have to control a classroom, I have an assertive style of communicating, and at the same time, I'm showing the students the respect which they deserve. And second way to improve our EQ is to respond instead of reacting. When we face a situation, we get an immediate reaction out of us. That immediate reaction to a conflict is very bad. That immediate reaction could be in terms of outbursts of anger, fear, frustration. And that outburst, that sudden outburst could spoil a relationship. So emotionally intelligent person, they knows how to stay calm during the emotionally stressful situations. They don't take any impulsive decisions that could lead to even a higher problem. So if I know that I'm facing a conflict, instead of reacting, I'm responding it. So I am using my logical brain. I'm processing the information which I'm getting, and then I'm responding to that instead of just quickly reacting to the situation. So, what do we have to do in order to respond? We have to understand that in times of conflict, the goal is resolution and to make a conscious choice to ensure that our words and our actions are into responding to the. The third thing which we as a teacher could do is that we can use active listening skills. So what happens is that in most of the conversation, people listen to speak. Most of the time when we are listening so that we get our turn to speak. But emotionally intelligent people, they listen for clarity. They make sure that they understand what is being said before responding. If they have any questions, they ask. And not only verbal communication, emotionally intelligent people, they also focus on non-verbal communications also. So, as a teacher, we could develop a habit wherein when a student is sitting in a class and that student, we are asking them question and they are not able to answer, probably we could read what the non-verbal cues are. Maybe the student is nervous, maybe the student is facing problem. And then we can practice positive attitude. We should not underestimate the power of our attitude. A very negative attitude can affect the other person with us. So emotionally intelligent people, they have the awareness of moods of those around them and guard their attitude accordingly. I know these students are feeling frustrated after a long day of class. They are feeling tired. And instead of bombarding them with the information, maybe I can remodel my class in such a manner that the last class is not so heavy for them and they are able to leave the school, leave the college with a positive mindset. So I have, as an individual, I also have the authority to influence the behavior and attitude of those around me. So I should maintain a positive attitude. Probably before going a class, I had a very serious meeting, serious conversation with my HODs, with my deans, or with my directors or my colleagues. And I take that attitude to the class. I enter the class with a very negative attitude. I am very rude to the students. So the students who came there to learn, they'll also lose interest in the class. For me, it would have been a single incident. For them, it would leave an overlasting impression. So, a very important way for us is a very important technique for us is to maintain a positive attitude. Leave the emotions which we are feeling at that point and enter the classroom with a very positive attitude. If I emit positive attitude, the others around me would take it in and their negative attitude would be converted into positive attitude. Another very important aspect, and I cannot stress it enough, is empathize. Students these days, they are so much equipped with social media wherein they are bombarded with information. They don't know how to handle that information, and that leads to frustration in them. And that frustration can be seen in multiple manners when we are interacting with them. So it is important for us as a teacher to empathize with them, to show that emotional strength is there, and make it as a strength and not a weakness. There will be a mutual respect between students and teachers if the teacher is able to empathize with their students. And then a teacher is at a position where they are considered to be leaders of the class. They are the captains who navigate the ship. So it is important for teacher to have an excellent leadership skill. They should set a high standard for themselves, and them as themselves, they should set an example for others to follow. This process of taking initiatives, of helping them to take decision making, of helping them to solve problems, this will show us as a leaders of the group, and then we'll be able to have a strong relationships with our students. And lastly, a teacher should be approachable and sociable. So in order to improve our emotional skills, we could try and become more sociable with not only our students but also our colleagues. Our life has been limited to our cubicles. We don't even know who we interact to or what is going on in the lives of others. We are only limited if we are, maybe I have a colleague whom I talk to every day, but I don't even know when their birthday is until unless I don't see it on social media. And that is the problem, that is the lack of social skills. So if I have to develop emotional intelligence in myself, I need to be more sociable. I need to be more approachable. It should be easy for students to come to me with their problems. I should not have a guard on me all the time so that a student feels very difficult to come to me and have a conversation to share their problem. So they should have a very positive presence. And how can you have a positive presence? You can smile more, you can be more approachable, and you can be more sociable with others. Now, after teachers, we come to students. So, what is the role of emotional intelligence for students? So, if there has been multiple research in order to understand the emotional intelligence, its roles in students' life. So, the research have proven that students with high emotional intelligence can have better mental health, better social health, and better physical health. So it means that a student, when they are having high emotional intelligence, they are more prepared to handle the challenges the university life which gives them. They are able to lower their level of anxiety, their level of depression. They are more socially active and involved. They are more healthy as compared to students with low emotional intelligence, and they have a better chance of building bonds with their peers and their professors. What are the qualities of emotionally intelligent students? First of all, they are positive. We understand that university life is very different. They have come from school and they entered higher education sector, wherein they have faced a lot of challenges. Their whole life is changed from school to college. But in the entire situation, a high emotional intelligence student, they remain positive. The second aspect is or the quality of highly emotionally intelligent student is that they know the people well. They know that what are the natures and character of people. We are when we enter college, we remember that we meet people for new time, for first time. So for students, it is very difficult to gel with other people. But someone who has high emotional EI, they are able to know people, they are able to understand their characteristic, and they are able to make a bond with them. A student with high EI is often able to identify what they are feeling and why they are feeling whatever they are feeling. They are able to understand that today I am feeling frustrated because possibly something happened with my friend. Today I am feeling irritated because something probably happened at home. Or today I'm feeling happy because I got good marks in my subject and I'm feeling happy because of that. So students are able to understand what they are feeling and what is the reason behind their feeling. They are also able to accept change. As I said earlier, that coming from school to college is a very big change in a student's life. Their whole curriculum, the whole teaching style, they get more freedom, everything changes. And thus, students with high EI are able to accept these changes which comes in their life. They welcome their changes in their schools and gain success in all the world. And one other important characteristic of a high EI student is that they set limits. It is very important for students to set limits. They should know when to say yes and when to say no. It could be either positive or negative, and they can answer well in any situation. A person with high EI or student with high EI are not influenced by their peers for things which they don't want to do. So they are very clear what they want to do, and they are able to set limits on their situations. They are also able to improve their weaknesses and they know their strength. Many a times when we go to class and we ask students, what are your strengths or what are your weaknesses? Most of the time, students are not able to answer that. And that is the sign of low EI. The students are not aware of their emotions and the students are not able to answer what emotions are their weaknesses and what emotions are their strength. So students with high emotional intelligence, they know their strength and they work hard to remove any weaknesses in them. And they try to overcome those weaknesses and improve their strength. The students with high EI make everything interesting. So I understand that in a college, in a year, as a student, we study a lot of subjects. Few subjects could be of our interest, few subjects. So the students with high EI, they are able to make the studies which they find are interesting. Whatever work is assigned to them, whatever assignment is assigned to them, if any responsibility is given to the student, it is not boring to them, and they love whatever work is given to them. And lastly, these students, they avoid comparison. As a teacher also, we compare most of the students in our mind, and this puts a lot of pressure on students. So students with high EI, they try to avoid the comparisons. Because of the comparisons, it is a basic sign that if we are compared to someone else and fall short, then we feel unhappy or we feel sad. But students with high emotional intelligence, they try to avoid this stressful situation by not comparing them with others. They are content in whatever they have achieved. So what are the tips which we can give to our students to improve EQ? The first tip which we can share with our students is to notice how they are feeling. It is important for students to notice whatever is going in their mind, what the emotions they are feeling at that time, and understand the underlying reason behind that emotions. The second tip which we can suggest to a student is to predict your emotions. We can ask our students to understand the underlying reasons behind the emotion which they feel. And if that reason comes in future, they can predict how they are going to feel. So for example, a student who keeps on comparing themselves with others get less marks in their class test. And because of that, they feel frustrated, they feel sad, they feel angry. So next time that when that student is about to give exam, they'll be mentally prepared that if I get bad marks, I might feel angry or might feel sad. So they are predicting their emotions in advance. And because they are able to predict their emotions in advance, they will be able to control their emotions in a better manner. It would also help the student to keep a diary to improve their EQ. If a student is keeping a diary wherein they are noting all the day-to-day activities which has happened and what they are feeling because of those activities, they can find an underlying pattern. They can find that this activity led to this emotion. So then they will be able to manage their emotion in a better manner. We can also ask the students to channel the emotions which they are feeling creatively. Most of the times, the student around us, they don't get a channel for their emotions, and because of them, they become disruptive in nature. So we can ask the students to, rather than bottling up their emotions, we can ask them to channel those emotions in a creative manner. We can also make a student see failures as an opportunity. As I mentioned earlier, that one of the signs of high emotionally intelligent student is that they are able to identify their strengths and weaknesses. So any opportunity which our students face, if they fall short, if they are facing failure in those opportunities, we can ask them to see this as a platform wherein they can rise, they can remove those weaknesses because of which they are facing the failure and improve within themselves. We can also ask these students to practice active listening. Again, listening should not be done in order to respond. Listening should be done in order to understand what the other person is trying to say and remove any doubt. This active listening would help our students to develop better relations with their peers and have an everlasting impact on their career. We can also ask the student to maintain a positive attitude. College or a university is just a start of their life. They till their school, their students are very protected from, they are sheltered from their family, with their family they are sheltered by their teachers, and because of them they do not, because of that they do not face any hurdles in their life. But when it comes to college, the student has gone out of the house, the student starts living in a hostel or a PG, the student starts interacting with different people from different background, the student starts getting lot of responsibilities, because of which it is obvious that they can get a negative attitude. And it is important to explain to our students how the importance of positive attitude and how well they can use that positive attitude to succeed in their life. And another tip which students can use to improve their EQ is responding to the conflict. So there are two ways in which we can respond to a conflict. One way is the reaction, where the reaction comes suddenly. If I face a conflict, I'm going to react, and that react can be a sudden outburst of emotions. We have to move our students from reacting to responding. We have to cultivate in them different techniques wherein they take the information which they get during a conflict, process it, and then respond to it in a manner that leads to solution of a conflict rather than increasing it. Now, a question which comes in our mind is how an organization can, or an institution can help to develop emotional intelligence in the students and their teachers. So, one of the important thing is that the supervisors or the managers in an institution, they should show them emotional intelligent behavior themselves. They should model the EI behaviors so that others feel motivated to copy those behaviors and to respond in a same manner. Another thing which the organization can do is then they can set norms, they can set rules, they can set few guidelines on how people should communicate with each other and what to do if there is a disagreement between people. They can also recognize and celebrate those people who exhibit emotional intelligence. So, if, for example, an individual has been given a difficult task, and in that difficult task, the person has reacted very calmly, very positively, they were able to manage others, they were able to control the emotions of others, then that person should be recognized and celebrated. This would motivate others to exhibit the same behavior, to model the same behavior in themselves. Another important thing which an organization can do is that they can start making heroes of people who help other people. We all talk about teamwork, but we always forget that it is not one person who got to the top of the mountain, people who have helped them to reach the top. So team works in the same manner. The one person can be the limelight of a team, but it is the strength of all the team members that has collectively helped them to reach the top of the mountain. So we have to, as an institute, they have to encourage the good team behavior, recognize it, and call it out whenever it is exhibited. An institution, especially educational institution, should design workshops and seminars for educators, which would help them to explain the importance of EI and help them to tackle the situations which they face in their life. It would equip them with strategies which they can use in classroom to manage not only their emotions but also the emotions of their students. Also, institutes can add emotional intelligence in their curriculum with different subjects, which throughout their curriculum in different subjects, which would help the students to understand how they can apply EI in operations, how they can apply EI in marketing, how they can apply EI in HR or organizational behavior. The organization cannot, institutes should not only stop by on teachers and students, they should also take one step ahead and set workshop for parents, because the two parties with the students react interactively is teachers and parents. So educational institute should set the workshop for parents to encourage them to develop the emotional intelligence of these students. The parents will be well equipped to handle the emotional intelligence of the students and help them to guide them through the life. The emotional intelligence should be used as a study in colleges of education. Because of introduction of emotional intelligence in the education sector, a student would become well equipped to handle the life process. Which institutes can do is that they can promote and conduct deeper research in this matter, because emotional intelligence as a topic has come into existence in recent years in 1990s. So a lot of things have to be studied, emotional intelligence, and institutes are one of the key areas who can promote this research and who can investigate into topic more. So overall, emotional intelligence is a very deeper part into lives of students, of teachers, of everybody. And as to teachers, it becomes our responsibility. We have been given the responsibility of students on us, and it becomes our responsibility to handle that our emotions and help our students to identify their emotions and equip them with tools and strategies so that they can control their emotions, they can manage their emotions, and build an everlasting relationships with their peers throughout their life. Thank you, everyone. I'm open for Q&A session.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Any of the participants, in case they would like to have a Q&A with ma'am, can have a conversation in the chat box. You can type in your questions in the chat box and ma'am can take the answers. And ma'am, by the time we are taking questions from other faculties, if you can just show some light on, today we have discussed on how emotional intelligence is important in the education sector. So if we can throw some light on how other fields can benefit from the same, and whether the applications which you have told today and the way it works in the education sector, does it works the same way in the other sectors, or there is a difference in the same?
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. So emotional intelligence is something which is required in all the field. Let it be marketing, let it be HR. Because whenever, as a human being, it is obvious for us to go through life feeling various emotions. So if we are well equipped to handle our emotions, then we will be able to be successful in all the fields of a career. It doesn't matter whether we are working in a cubicle or we are going out and interacting with others. I understand that as a teacher, we have been given the responsibility that we have to handle students. They are not one student who's associated with us, but around 100, 150 students who are associated with us. And we have to help them to reach their full potential. And it is only possible when we ourselves have full control on our emotions. Maybe probably I'll give you just an example that as a faculty, probably I had a bad morning and when I reach the college, I take out the frustration on my students. So that is the sign of an emotionally weak faculty. So I suggest that the tips and techniques which I have shared, it can be applied to all the field. It doesn't matter that today we are here, we are talking about educational sector. So it should be applied only in the educational sector. It can be taken as a base, and modifications can be made and applied to all the sectors. And anybody, rather be faculty or somebody who's working in marketing and interacting with different customers, or anybody who's working in HR and interacting with employees, can use this and develop themselves as well as develop the relationships with others.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Can we have questions from any other faculties? Ma'am, I believe the way in which you have completely explained the topic in such a brilliant way is something that is the reason that we must continue with our session. So thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing with us your thoughts on the topic of emotional quotient. And you have rightly said that the emotional quotient has become a very important and crucial part of our working life. And I believe that it is something that we can no longer ignore. So thank you for sharing your insights with us on how we can improve our EQ, and in turn, how we can improve our students' EQ as well. So I guess if you applied, I'm sure each and everyone here can derive some benefit from it. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for your lecture. My request to all the participants to kindly be patient for another 5 minutes. Our guest for the second session will be joining us in a minute or so. I request your patience for 5 more minutes. Thank you so much. 15 minutes.